understanding how climate change can impact the agricultural sector. I think it's a major challenge because it's not something that a country alone can tackle, but that requires a greater coordination. And that is the big challenge.
Thank you. I think I'll go back to where I started. AI, for example, is cross-cutting. Therefore, for us to have a serious impact, go back to what Davis was saying, policy. Who informs policy? Unfortunately, our policy is not data-driven. It's not evidence-based, simply because it does not rely on research. So for me, if I were to look at how we can be able to harness data and emerging technologies, it will be within the policy environment. And basically to inform policy, and also to look at the policies that already exist, and whether they can be able to solve issues that we predict. For example, it will have been so easy for us to simply analyze what is happening on social media, to understand the thinking and the trends within the young people in this country, and probably wouldn't be where we are at the moment with the Gen Z issue. Again, it's about research, it's about policy and the policies that we're implementing, and whether it is research-based and whether it is relying on data and analysis of data to be able to achieve that. Look at something like, for example, predicting risks. If we're to predict a financial crisis, for example, AI can enable us to do that. It can even enable us to look at the policies in place and whether they can be able to sustain whatever financial crisis that we are predicting. But are we doing that? So for me, it revolves around the use of data and data analytics and these emerging technologies to be able to formulate policy, to be able to implement policy, and to be able to predict the future and relate it to policy.
Awesome. I love that you actually work for the National Defense University. Like, you are in there. Hopefully, you will get listened to. Ben?
Yeah, the thing I'm most bullish about is the talent of the young people we have coming into the space. I think they will work it out. The talent is strong. And it's not just the talent, it's the numbers. There's 1 million young people coming into the workplace, tech-savvy young people coming into the world of industry every year. And that's numbers times talent. Something will happen. So I'm bullish that something is going to come good from these types of technologies. We have to enable them with all the things we've talked about, compute, but the basic mathematics as well, and the being strong in these things. You know, we have to enable them to do that, to help that. But I'm bullish that results will come. But you know, in terms of picking something where the results, it's looking difficult at the moment because we're seeing, you know, the current buzz of AI being the large language model, but we're also seeing that, you know, maybe this thing costs so much to make. We wonder, people are wondering whether you can realize that return on investment. So the real, the winning applications is at the end of the day going to be things that deliver good return for the less money, right? If you have to spend billions of dollars on it and it delivers a small return, that won't be so useful. But if you spend $100 million and there's $1 billion return, it's, you know, that's the one. So, you know, we have to. It will emerge, but it's going to be driven by ultimately. It's going to be an investment game, right? So where it's looking like the financial, you know, where ideas come and ideas get nurtured and they get developed. But the ones that are going to get funding to grow at scale are going to be the ones that look like they are going to give investors money back. Otherwise, no one's going to invest in it.
Makes sense. Thank you. So our talent. Tanya?
What I'm bullish or excited about is that research will stop happening in ivory towers, and we will cease to have data silos. This allows for collaborative engagement. So, for example, when we were doing the laptop per child initiative, how did we arrive at the number of 1.28 million devices? We don't do cradle-to-grave identity. You have X number of birth records. You don't look at how many children were immunized or how many children went through early childhood education to arrive at that number. So what you're doing is you're saying that youth is a percentage of the population, and then from that population, what percentage would be 6 years old? We're now moving to data-driven decision-making and policy-making. So when you're asking for budget or allocation of resources, you're actually able to say why we need this. The story of KEMSA sending malaria medicine to Marsabit ceases to be. The story of buying drugs and the drugs expire on the shelves or at the port ceases to be, because decisions are made, they're intentional, they have data driving why they reach that. As we talk about budget and reducing expenditure, you're able now to do precision budgeting. We move from wild ass-guess methods in many things to predictive or prescriptive analytics. We've got the power of visualization, so data that would have been abstract before to decision makers is tangible, it's practical, they can make informed decisions. And the other thing that also it presents opportunity for is monitoring and evaluation. It's been a pain point in a lot of the research that's done. You will have investor money come as a project is put out, but it fails or it's not sustained because we were not able to measure impact or change policy. So for example, with the Millennium Development Goals, which country in Africa, for example, achieved the MDGs? If we were to do monitoring and evaluation, we would only be able to do it 6 years after the MDGs lapsed. So now we have
effective